Most Americans are making a simple mistake with their 401ks that could cost them thousands of dollars over their lifetime. And the new Secure Act 2.0 rules for 2025 make some of these mistakes even easier to make if you don't know the changes. Stick with me for the next few minutes because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to avoid these mistakes and even use the new rules to your advantage. Plus, I've got a bonus tip at the end that most financial advisors won't tell you, so don't click away. All right, mistake number one is cashing out when changing jobs. Did you know that nearly 30% of workers under age 30 cash out their 401ks when leaving a job and often destroy their long-term retirement gains? That's just one costly mistake that people make with their 401ks. Today, we're diving into many more mistakes. So meet one of my clients who is a nurse in her 30s. Now, she was in between jobs and couldn't figure out what to do. She needed some extra cash, so she cashed out her 401k when leaving her job. $10,000 today felt great, but years later, she realized that she had lost over $50,000 in potential growth. So what I want you to do instead is always do a direct rollover into a new 401k or a Roth IRA, or consider other options if you need money. And the best thing about rolling it over into a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k is you don't have to worry about required minimum distributions later. That's money growth tax-free for you and your future self. Now, mistake number two is not getting your employer match. Think of this as free money, and over 60% of retirement plans offer matching contributions. So if your employer offers a match and you don't contribute enough to get it, you're literally leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table. And here's the kicker. With the Secure 2.0 Act, if you're paying student loans, your employer can now treat those payments as 401k contributions. So that means that you can pay down debt and get the match at the same time. That is a huge win, especially for minorities and for women who carry the largest burden of student loan debt. Now you don't have to decide between paying down your debt and building generational wealth. You can do them at the same time. Mistake number three is one of those that most people forget every single year, and it's so simple to fix. And that is setting your 401k contribution and increasing it every single year. So most people might start their contribution at 3% and never touch it again. Instead, you want to increase your contributions over time. Even a 1% bump each year adds up massively. And the 2025 update, new plans must auto-enroll employees at 3% and auto-increase by 1% each year, up to 10 to 15%. So even if you forget, the system helps you to save more automatically. Imagine your 3% contribution slowly turning into a 10% without lifting a finger. And the number four mistake is ignoring vesting schedules. When I left my first employer, I left the employer match because I left too soon. And honestly, this is one of my biggest financial mistakes. Now, I understood that I could stay, but I would have had to stay in a city without my husband. So it was a mistake that I made after understanding our transition. But if I would have known that earlier, perhaps I would have prioritized other accounts for my investments. Always check your vesting schedule when you are hired at a new employer and before leaving a job. Sometimes waiting just a few extra months is worth thousands of dollars. And number five is not maxing out catch-up contributions if you're over the age of 50. The standard 2025 catch-up contribution is $7,500. But here's the new law update. If you're between 60 and 63, you can contribute up to $11,250. And high earners, listen carefully. Starting in 2026, catch-up contributions must go into a Roth account if you earn more than $145,000. So that means after-tax money that grows tax-free is still powerful. However, you will not get the upfront tax deduction for those catch-up contributions. So something for you to keep in mind. One of the benefits is because you're putting it in a Roth account, you pay the taxes today and it grows tax-free without required minimum distributions. And mistake number 6 kind of goes along with mistake number 5, is not knowing the difference between Roth and traditional. Traditional 401k means that you get a tax break now, and a Roth equals tax-free money later. So the 2025 update is your employer match can now go into a Roth account, giving you more flexibility and tax-free growth. And wait until mistake number 7, which is one that most people ignore and can cost thousands of dollars. And that is letting your money sit in a high fee funds or cash after a rollover. Fact here, nearly 1/3 of Vanguard clients who rolled over their 401k still had their money in cash 7 years later. That's lost growth. So you want to reinvest that money immediately into diversified low-cost portfolio. And number 8 is leaving old accounts scattered and forgotten. Do not forget those old 401ks. There are estimated 24.3 million forgotten 401k accounts holding $1.35 trillion as a few years ago. Instead, I want you to consolidate them into one IRA or your current 401k and simplify the management and reduce fees. And because of the Secure Act 2.0, if you have unused 529 plans, you can now roll those over into a Roth IRA for the beneficiary up to $35,000 lifetime limit. So that's your unused education money that is going to be working in retirement for you. And mistake number 9 is treating your 401k like an ATM. You want to ensure that you're not making frequent withdrawals from your 401k. Yes, you can borrow from it and you'll pay yourself back the interest, but why do that? You are robbing yourself from your future. So keep an emergency fund that is outside of your retirement accounts, and withdrawing early can cost penalties and lost growth. And that takes us to number 10 is not planning for penalties. Missing the required minimum distributions or withdrawing the money incorrectly. And this is really important when you're doing a rollover. Do not take the money out and then receive a check, because most people receive the check and they forget to deposit it into the new 401k before that time limit. So instead, when you're doing a rollover, say that you want the money to go directly from one account to another account, you should initiate it between the various companies instead of receiving a check for that rollover. The penalties for missing RMDs or withdrawing incorrectly could be really high. Old penalties used to be about 50%, and that's brutal. Now there are lower new penalties of 25 or just 10% if you correct it quickly. But nonetheless, it's still painful. So why make this mistake when you can avoid it? Now, I want you to be part of the smart camp of people who don't make mistakes with their 401k, who don't leave money on the table or leave the money at their employer forgotten. Remember these steps, especially if you are transitioning jobs, so that you can be wise with your money and set yourself up for a successful retirement. If you have any stories about how you made mistakes with your 401k like I have, put them in the comments. Sharing is caring. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.